Hello, let's start the topic. Today's topic is carbon capture and sequestration. And with the help of algae, last class we have already discussed why green algae are so having so much importance because it have been used for production of biofuel due to its rapid growth and low cost as well as utilization is very good and production is also very good. But along with this biofuel production, algae are also used for carbon capture and sequestration. So in this approaches, we are going to discuss first what is carbon capture and sequestration and why algae are so much important for this CCS, carbon capture and sequestration. So this is a hot topic so nowadays because carbon dioxide's amount is increasing day by day. All you are known like every day the carbon amount is increased day by day. So the carbon amount which is increased day by day. Let's share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today's topic is carbon capture and sequestrations. Based on this green algae, last class we already discussed why algae is used as a biofuel because we are discussing about the green energy and the green energy in terms of we already discussed that unit 4 is mainly focus on the biofuel production through green algae. So why algae, not any other plants? Because algae is a unwanted plant, green plant, and the smallest green plant you may say, and it can rapidly grow without any treatment, without any conditions, or without any interventions of any humans. Once it is required little amount of water, it can grow rapidly, and no one can be check the growth of algae, and it's almost double its growth in every day. That means in 24 hours the masses are doubled. So see, due to this huge production of algae and the growth capacity, and algae are also mostly consisting of a primitive type of cell which consisting only very few cells, and the cell containing the oil quantity is high. Mainly actually three things are contained in the algae. First is the essential oil which is called mainly used for biodiesel production or biofuel production. Second is the sugar parts, and third is the cell wall which is called nothing but the cellulose. And these three things, most 55 to a 60% oil is present in the algae. So due to this rapid growth and this yeah, readily available form of algae, we are going to be extract the biofuel. This is the one part. Another part, the algae, which is also takes part in the carbon capture and sequestration. As you know, the carbon dioxide's quantity in the atmosphere is rapidly growing day by day due to the industrialization process and different human activity, anthropogenic activity. The carbon dioxide amount is highly increasing. So how, what is the increasing amount? Because this the carbon dioxide is increasing, the climate change and so many global warming, all these are mostly biggest problem and biggest challenges of the total human in and the total not human only and the total earth and total environment. So if if we some manner we can reduce the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, because we cannot stop industrialization, cannot stop vehicles, cannot stop this rapid development. So we have to develop a different way to reduce the carbon dioxide. How to reduce the carbon dioxide? The most utilization of carbon dioxide or reduction of carbon dioxide is through the green plants who can directly absorb carbon dioxide and emitted oxygen, which can convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. And algae is the simplest form of this uh, green plant. So the algae is also having huge amount of capacity to convert this carbon dioxide or capture this carbon dioxide from atmosphere. So this carbon dioxide concentration in last 30 year is so much increased. So the climate change also happening. See the 280 ppm in pre-industrial time and 390 ppm after industrial revolutions or this after rapid industrial development. So the average earth temperature also increased by 0.74 degrees centigrade. This is nearly equal to 1 degree centigrade. The average. You almost seen the how what is the conditions today. What is the heavy heat of the atmosphere in the that is due to nothing but this climate change and global warming. So mainly due to this industrial development and the deforestation, because the reductions of the green plant, which is mostly important for this climate change and this carbon dioxide emissions are contribute is increase, because the green plants are the only source of conversion of carbon dioxide into oxygen. So see, this is the graph how the carbon dioxide amount is increased in 1960 to 2010, because 1960 is the start of the industrial revolutions. Industry or the industrial revolution start in 1960. Before 1960 there is no industry, so much industry, so rapidly industry are increasing globally, not only for India, all over the world. And up to 2010, see the rate of increases to 320 ppm to 390 ppm, almost 100 ppm more. So this carbon dioxide is the biggest challenges for the atmosphere of the environment. So carbon dioxide capture and sequestration. Capture means to capture the carbon dioxide. Sequestration means to hold the carbon dioxide, not to only convert. It can be hold. So there are so many sources are there for this CCS. This is short form we can call it CCS, carbon capture and sequestration. Mostly carbon dioxide emissions are 28 gigatons nowadays, but up to 2050 it is 62 gigatons. See, up to three times or mainly two times more in projection to 2050. So what is the environmental condition, climate condition at that time? So this can be checked by this CCS, that is called carbon capture and sequestration. And this there are so many methods for CCS, but algae is the one method. And the reduction up to this carbon dioxide 20% can be take place by the CCS. So this is the hot topic for the environmentalist nowadays. So carbon capture and sequestration, it is called capturing carbon dioxide at a large and stationary point of source. Second is transporting this carbon dioxide from the source to sink. Third is injecting the carbon dioxide in the geological river sinks. So this carbon dioxide, actually this is a part of our carbon cycle. But as we anthropogenic activity, carbon dioxide emission is so much that it cannot be recycled back or cannot be converted into usefulness from the energy or in the carbon cycle. So some agents, this CCS technique, mainly you think that some types of agents are there. For example, algae is the agent which can capture the CO2, excess CO2 in the environment, and it can hold the CO2 in it, within in it, and then we can transport this CO2 along with this vehicle, we make a vehicle and put into the sink. Sink is the reservoir. And where is the reservoir? Where the carbon dioxide or carbon which cannot be again come out to the atmosphere. That is called the sink or reservoir. If that is permanently sink or permanently store the carbon dioxide, excess carbon dioxide in the different, I mean, it's a vault type of things. We cannot be escape from that. So this is the main methods for CCS. First is capture, second is transport, third is reservoir or injecting into the sink. This is the three important step of CCS. So what are the sinks where you can store the carbon dioxide, that called reservoir sink or geological reservoir. So carbon dioxide are captured by this agent, and that can be put a deep bore well and put into the earth crust, inside the earth crust. Then the carbon dioxide or the carbon which cannot be again emitted to the atmosphere. This is the different sinks, geological sinks. So this is not required. So what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Risks of leakage and collateral damage, storage media of these things may be happen. See in the previous images, if we are injecting these carbon dioxides in the deep bore well, and so sometimes might be somehow there is a risk of damage or risk of this leakage may be happen if the earthquakes happens or some due to some unknown condition, there may be a chance of leak or damage to the carbon dioxide. So if there is a leak and damage of this sink, then what happens? The total whole cost and total whole our processes going void. That means there is no uses, non-accessibility to technology and fair suitable items. For capturing the carbon dioxide, suitable vehicle or suitable agent is required. So this agent or vehicle or this technology is also not good enough to capture huge amount of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and injecting to the sink, because this is a limited technology. We cannot have some types of technology till date. There are also, although there are some technologies, but that is not. Third point is increment of cost energy production, because there is a huge cost is required, huge amount of money is required, and not so much efficiency of this sequestration techniques. So due to this, the carbon dioxides are increasing in the atmosphere, but we can develop, we can, the R&D is going on. So DST, the Department of Science and Technology in India mainly, there are some techniques they are developing. First, CO2 sequestration through microalgae and microfixation technique. These algae, which are used for biofuel production mainly, green energy production, they are used as a carbon dioxide capture vehicles or agent to capture this atmospheric CO2 and store within in it. Second, carbon capture process development. After capturing this carbon dioxide, it can also, these are green and having chlorophyll, so they can also convert some carbon dioxide into oxygen itself, because these are tree, algae as tree. Third is policy development and studies, because this algae and this growing of these things and developing in large scale, some government policy and more studies to be needed. So this is some lacking disadvantages. Fourth is terrestrial agroforestry sequestration. Agroforestry sequestration means some forestry along with this agriculture. Both agriculture and forestry both are simultaneously when taking place in same land, that is called agroforestry process, and where carbon dioxide utilization from atmosphere is going through. But the first point, which is microalgae biofixation techniques, more amount of carbon dioxide can be captured from the environment. So due to this, some pilot plant capture and CO2 converting useful fuel methane, hydrogen, biodiesel through algae route has been fabricated design, and pilot plant is under the different of Bhopal. There is some pilot plant means not a large scale. When we are going for lab scale to industrial scale, some testing of some small large scale plant is just developed, that is called pilot plant. So this plant can be formed in Bhopal to test whether this R&D project is workful, useful in a large scale or not. And after this bioalgae, what happened? First is carbon dioxide capture, second is biodiesel production, fourth is biohydrogen production, biodiesel production. All are the part of this algae. Identified three marine cyanobacterial strain. The cyanobacterial strain algae is the mostly having tolerance of 25% of CO2, because CO2 is the uh, where we can actually all organisms they need oxygen for the living beings, for living or respirations, but some bacterial algae which can live can survive up to 25% CO2, and that can be grown. And this is the name of this thing, so we did not need to remember. CO2 fixation biology, technical feasibility, fixations. There are some Chennai or there carbon plants are there. So microalgae are going to develop because it is under development scheme. The Department of Science Technology they are going to funding so much huge amount of money to going the R&D project. And these are today, if there is today there is no availability of this large scale industry along with for this. But after 10 years or 15 years, there may be these techniques will be emerge with a huge amount of usefulness. So these are ongoing R&D project. Forest biomass also play important role to CO2 emissions. If there is forest cover is more, so by afforestation and planting tree that can be also done for the carbon capture and sequestration process. So these are different methods or different what is carbon dioxide capture and sequestration. These are some parts. So let's understand next slides that why or how algae can be utilized for this carbon dioxide and capture. Before that, we can move a different slides in details for how carbon dioxide captures can be, what is carbon sequestration before just few minutes. Carbon sequestration is the process of capturing and long-term storage of atmospheric carbon dioxide. This is called carbon sequestration. Process of removing carbon from atmosphere and depositing in a reservoir, I already discussed. Process of carbon capture and storage, CCS, where carbon dioxide is removed from the fuel exhaust gases such as from power stations before being stored underground reservoirs, aquifers and the oil pits. Because the carbon dioxide are emitted mostly due to the burning of fossil fuel wherever you go, either coal burning, diesel, petrol burning, or anything where industrial, all the things. Fossil fuels burning, this is the main source of carbon dioxide nowadays. So, if we want to capture the CCS carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, then there should be the process, and that process is called carbon capture and storage or carbon sequestration. Storage of carbon either by natural processes or by human activity in the oceans and their sediments. So actually the ocean which is cover one sorry two-third part of the total world, that is the also main reservoir of the carbon dioxide, because the surface of the ocean which is mostly having high amount of contact with the atmosphere as compared to the land. So whenever there is atmosphere, we contact the atmosphere and the water along with this carbon dioxide, oxygen. The carbon dioxide also mixed with the water, and that can also store in ocean. So these storage are also a biggest reservoir of this carbon dioxide. But as it is open surfaces, it either exchange from water to again to the carbon dioxide emitted to the atmosphere. So this is not a permanent storage. So what is the permanent storage or carbon sequestration? That can be deposited in the reservoir vault, which in previous slides we are seeing, that is a deep bore well inside this earth. So there are different types of sequestration: natural sequestrations and man-made sequestration. Natural sequestration means peat bogs are the important carbon stores, creating new bogs, preventing enhancing different ones. Reforestations, natural, because forest are also one type of natural sequestration cycle, because all plants which can directly capture carbon dioxide and convert into oxygen. Third is wetland restorations, wetland where some soil which is low level of water is present everywhere every time in the year, they are also having capture the carbon dioxide up to 14.5% of these wetlands and 6% of the land. That means they are also having huge capacity to capture this carbon dioxide. enhancing natural sequestration. So we are doing some practices, different practices for this role in the natural sequestration. What are these? Using over crops such as grasses with temporary cover between planting season, because in our agricultural field some seasons plants are the agricultures after harvesting, the total ground is mainly covered with the green grasses may be covered, converting livestock into small paddock, that is called mixed farming, where you can farm both agriculture as well as the livestock. Means we can just farm cow, buffalo, all the things along with green field. So where you can also these carbon dioxide emissions or carbon dioxide emissions can be takes place. Covering bare pad rocks, natural, all this barren land should be covered by these afforestation methods and green plants can be takes place. Restoring degraded land where the land is degraded. So this degraded land can be planted by vegetating different agriculture use or converting some different points. Then also the carbon dioxide reductions in the atmosphere takes place. Human induced sequestration. That means forcefully human have invented some technology that can be capture the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store in a reservoir. Like in previous slide we have studied that carbon capture and storage. This is the purely human based or human induced sequestration. Along with this, iron fertilizations, urea fertilization, these are the different methods we are going to utilize for this carbon sequestration. We do not going in details. We are going in details for the carbon capture and storage, which is done by this micro algae or algae. Biochar, subterranean injections, these are the different methods by humans. So our main focus is carbon capture and storage, that is CCS. So 90% of carbon dioxide emission released with the human fossil fuel, already told that, and this carbon dioxide is again stored in the atmosphere in the form of gas. And the capturing a gas from the atmosphere, this is very much difficult task. If you are collecting some solids or liquid, that is different thing, but huge amount of atmospheric carbon dioxide, how can it can be collected? It is a very huge task and that is nearly impossible. But due to our different technology developed, so we can storing this carbon capture and this direct CO2, gaseous CO2 from the atmosphere can be takes place. And this is also having some injected to some deep borewell like different geological locations. Some carbon gases, dioxide gases can be used to extract more oil and gases from the reservoir, and this can be called as carbon dioxide storage or carbon capture and storage process. Ocean based CCS causes addition problem because acidification. This is a different thing because ocean, as I told that ocean is the biggest source of carbon dioxide, but when it can be also contact to the atmosphere directly, it can also exchange and the acidification takes place. The water become acidified. So along with that, the algae are the most important points. So climate engineering technologies they are geoengineering deliberate large scale manipulation planetary environment order to conduct human based climate change. Geoengineering technology aim to two things: accelerated removal of the carbon dioxide from atmosphere and reflected more sunlight back to the space. Because carbon dioxide's amount is more than what happened, the carbon dioxide as we are known it is a greenhouse gases which can capture the solar light, and the solar light which can be captured in the form of heat and radiate in the form of heat. So it is reflected into the space, then the heat also does not take place so much, and the heat and the global warming is also reduced. So this is the different points of the carbon the green technology. Mitigation, adaptation, and the sequestration. There are some issues we already discussed because different is priority to adaptation based mitigation. That means precaution is better than cure. So better to see, produce less CO2 as a big because after production CO2 we cannot be so much capture this CO2. So these are different things, we just keep it. So this is all about carbon dioxide capture and sequestration. Now we can focus into our main aim, algae based carbon dioxide capture. So algae based carbon dioxide capture. Hi. Algae, so why you are first understand algae, then why algae is used for carbon dioxide capture, then a process that is algae based CO2 capture is how it can be captured, different process, then comparison, because there are so many methods are there, challenges, end products of the algae, benefits, all are going to be studied in this point. Algae are the one of the important species in the earth, because we already discussed, because it's a very teeny plant, you may say primitive plant, or which is can be having chlorophyll pigments, and they are can capable of converting CO2 to oxygen with the form of different nutrient, along with the nutrient and sunlight. They produce more oxygen than other plants. This is the one advantages, because other plants are a huge amount of oxygen also required for the maintenance and survival of these plants. But this algae is a teeny plant and having low maintenance required and low oxygen is required, and mostly oxygen production capacity is same, but it can releases more oxygen. Do not utilize the oxygen in its. They are food sources for some animals. Algae, green plants, as a green plants, they can be utilized as food sources for some, that is for zooplankton and plankton, all these things. They will be also able to produce biofuel from its processing. After producing, capturing the CO2, the biomass which is mostly produced by this algae after growing and nutriting, this biomass can be converted to biofuel, that in previous classes we already discussed about it. We do not go in details. So this biofuel processing is also the byproduct of this carbon capture sequestration technique from the algae. So algae is chosen for these techniques. Also they fix CO2 in atmosphere, because huge amount of carbon dioxide can be fixed by this algae. Then why algae? This is a very much important point. Why algae is the taken as what is algae and what is the advantages of algae for choosing this CCS process? Because pollutants such as carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxides can be controlled using algae, because this CO2 NO2 both can be captured with the help of algae. So this is very much important. Algae uses these as nutrient for its growth. These are the pollutant for different species. They are nutrient for this algae, and the utilize this nutrient, and they can grow itself, and what happen, they can sequestration, carbon dioxide sequestration can be takes place. So this carbon sequestration is mostly done with the help of this algae, because of its such a valuable useful product, as well as its rapid growth and low maintenance, mainly because algae uses this pollutant as a nutrient, and they can grow rapidly. They consume CO2 a lot, and that we need. That means CO2 in the atmosphere are so many things, and due to this large amount of CO2 capturing capacity of this algae, it can be used as a CCS process. About 1.8 tons of CO2 required to produce 1 ton of algae. See, that means nearly 2 ton of CO2 required to produce 1 ton of algae. So, huge amount of the CO2 can be utilized from the atmosphere on the natural processes for growing the algae only. A coal power plant produces 1 ton of CO2 for every megawatt of energy produced. See, thermal power plant are the most industrial activity which can be burn the coal mainly to for production of the electricity. So this is the thing. it produces 1 ton of carbon dioxide for 1 megawatt of energy produced. So if the power plant, thermal power plant, they produce 60 megawatt, then 60 ton of CO2 can be required, can be produced every day. So along with to maintain, along with to remediate this CO2, we have to just uh, grow half of this, that means algae. That means if it is produced 60 ton of CO2, we have just grow 30 ton of algae that can purely capture this CO2 which is produced by this power plant, thermal power plant. Because coal thermal power plant are important. CO2 machines, produce machines, may also be like industrial activity. Monetary benefits from algae processing. After processing algae, the algae cannot go waste. It can be utilized to form biofuel, maybe you feeding some plants, maybe it is a biomass which can be utilized different biogas productions or different biomass productions. So various other products can be used as utilized from this algae. Algae based CO2 capture technique. See, this is the total diagram how the algae can be captured. See, the coal is fired into power plant to produce electricity. First point is, after this gas, flue gas is evolved along with the chimney and blower and mixed into this atmosphere. Then this MEA is the one instrument which can also reduce this carbon or emissions. After this we pass, then blower which can be pass the CO2 and all other flue gas into atmosphere. This is the fan. So flue gas, which is 14% of CO2, and direct injection of the CO2, that is into the algae pond, because after this flue gas which is comes into the from the blower, from the first blower and second blower, in between this MEA which can be captured other different type of pollutant gases, that is sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, other gases, and the second blower emitted only 14% of CO2 gases, and this can be injected to algae pond. That means where the algae can be grown, that is called algae pond. And this, along with this algae pond, the downstream, the algae are drying in a solar bed, and the biomass from the algae which can be converted into biofuel later. So 50% solids are converted into biofuel, and this total whole carbon dioxide capture and the biofuel productions can be takes place. Then process of CO2 capture. How this CO2 capture can be takes place? Power plant flue gases, if after processing different states, and processing FDG, dryer, cooler, propeller, flow meter, aerator, yeah, the systematic flow point, then it can be pond pass into the algae pond. The green rectangular box is the algae pond, where the green algae are grown in a pond, open pond. So this algae pond is input is the flue gas after the aeration of the air. So what's happen? It can directly exposed to the sun or solar light. So the light along with the CO2 and the different nutrient, it can converted into the biomass. After the biomass, it can be dried and processing for the different foods, for production of biofuel, production of feed of different animals, for production of chemicals, production of fertilizers. So algae can be producing different types of different products, and the whole processes only we are going to grow algae. That is the important thing, and pass the flue gas through the algae pond. So this is the total process of CO2 capture from the generation of the power plant. So next point is why algae is taking prefer, because other methods are there for the CO2 capture, because algae based CO2 capture is mostly important because it is a biological way. Nothing human can be we have to just grow the algae in the solar algae pond, and nothing it is a pure natural things. Whereas Other techniques utilize machinery way or machine way. We can use some energy to capture this carbon dioxide. But here we just grow some algae in the pond and though no machinery, nothing is there. Only grow algae. No utilization of energy in the capturing of CO2. Then permanent sequestration. Because it is a green plant, it permanently converted the carbon dioxide into oxygen and biomass. No other byproducts are there. But some other processes, the temporary capture. If you capture some carbon dioxide in a volume or some vault like capture and put bore into a deep bore in the reservoir, then what happens? There may be a leakage takes place and it may come out into the atmosphere one day. That is no physical temporary thing. Third point is productive pre-processing of algae. Carbon dioxide capture, which is the one part, but after this biomass of the algae, production biomass of algae, what happened? That can be useful for the different bioproducts such as biofuel productions, cosmetics productions, fuel productions, some fooders productions. So there are so many things can be produced from the algae. But in this other way, no some processing takes place. The carbon dioxide, the so nothing, no byproduct of this carbon dioxide require more land area. Carbon dioxide is captured for algae because algae can be grown in cannot be grown in a dry field. So more land or algae pond is required to grow the algae, and so huge amount of land is required. But the other method, no such land area is needed because the capturing process can be different methods. Next point is setting up algae CO2 capture plant cost much. Because algae CO2 production technology is not developed fully, so now it was very much costly process for the growing of this algae in an effective way. Processing of this algae biomass or algae biofuel from the algae is a costly processes, but other are less cost. Then last is eco-friendly because algae is a plant and cannot harm to the environment anymore. But other processes are not eco-friendly. They can cause harm. They can cause leakage or maybe damage to environment. So among these 6 points, only 2 points are disadvantage for the algae, which is require more land area and it is costly processes. But after 10 to 12 years, 15 years, that may be the technology developed to reduce the cost and as well as the land area also. So that is the future CCS process, carbon capture and storage process. So algae is taken as a preference than other methods. So along with these advantages, some challenges also be to be faced because we already said this. The high cost of implementing sequestration infrastructure because it is cost is high. We cannot afford so much things, so much for this costing because we are not so much developed country to spend enough amount of money to capture the atmospheric CO2, which may be cannot be control over any country. It is a global thing, not over a country thing. Because atmosphere, we cannot say that 5 ton of 5 gigaton of carbon dioxide captured from over the Delhi and Gujarat or Vadodara city. We cannot say that. It is a global phenomena. So all other country, developed country, they may be initiated these things. So it is costly processes. So it may not be feasible in country wise or some zone wise. The limited availability of land space near power plants, building and systems because the population will increase, the demand of the land is more. So we cannot sacrifice so much land near these thermal power plants or in a popular area to grow algae, to create algae pond because the carbon it requires capture carbon dioxide capture growing of algae is very much essential. So it requires large amount of land, so it may not be available in this area. Third point is there are some specific operational problems as well which may be a significant inefficiency. As we are talking, algae is very good to capture carbon dioxide and produce other things, but there are some in hand or production process. There are some very significant challenges may be faces. For instance, the algae concentration may become acidic, high CO2, etc. So there are some other operational casualties. Consultants are constraints are there that may be not a useful method still, or may not be adopt this method till now fully. So one may, if the technology evolved someday, after some day, some years, the techniques may be a good enough to adopt worldwide. If the, all countries, all continent of the world that we adopt this technology, then huge amount of CO2 from atmosphere may be captured with the CCS process. So see how this is the flow chart of those algae and products algae. The industrial CO2 is evolving atmosphere, which may call as flue gas, and the flue gas is after purification. Why purification is needed? Because the flue gas does not contain only CO2. We are focusing on only CO2. If we are focusing on SO2, NO2, other things, then it cannot be. And the algae are also harm, and the efficiency of the CO2 capture is not focused. So before that, we have to purify the flue gas must be required. Then after the flue gas can be passed to the algae pond or algae to capture the CO2. If there are so many other pollutants are present, the CO2 efficiency of the CO2 capture may not be take place. Along with the CO2, nutrient, water, and the chlorophyll pigments of the algae, it can convert this algae into a algae CO2 into algal biomass, or the total biomass it can grow. And this biomass again having some different use converted into useful products. That is production of biodiesel, production of methane, production of ethanol, animal feed, hydrogen, cosmetics, sugars, lipids, different things may be produced. But as we are talking like this is not easy method. There are some cost and constraints are there in every processes. All in spite of all these things, algae may be is a good candidate for the CO2 capture from the environment. Apart from the other all others. So what are the benefits? It is sustainable. So what is sustainable? Sustainable is the things is the technology or the system which lasting very long time. That means it can also meet current generation need as well as future generation needs for lasting hundreds years. The techniques which is utilized today that may be last till after thousands years. So this is sustainable, means long term thing. It is not like a update or not like some different old technique that can be discarded. This is a very sustainable technique, long term technique. Only constant is the money and the whole processes technologies. There may be some evolution takes place. Then ensure safety. Second thing is because algae is a natural thing. We can do not use any chemical to capture all these things. So leakage of chemicals, hazards, all different aspects. This growing of algae is the safest thing. That means this is ensures its safety. Does not having some hazard related to this algae production or growing over this algae. This is the main benefits. Third is eliminates transportation of CO2. Other methods for certain we already discussed. One place CO2 is captured. Second thing, CO2 is transported into reservoir. Third thing, it can be injected deep bore reservoir which cannot be comes out. So these three things for CCS maybe takes place. But in this case, algae, the injection into deep bore well and these transportations of this CO2 does not take place because algae is a biomass which can be utilized to produce different co-product, mostly biofuel, which is the important thing that can be reused. That is biodiesel production. As we told, I already told that 50 to 60% algae content, biomass content is lipid or oil, in terms of oil, which can be used for biodiesel production. Next is generates biomass. Obviously, it is a tree. So when it is smallest tree, obviously, but whenever it's a tree, that means the cell structure is there, cell role is there. When drying, it is a form of biomass which can be utilized to form biofuel. Additional revenues, because after this production of algae, CO2 capture is the one method, that is the byproduct. Main aim is to generate revenue by growing algae. You can grow algae which can CO2 can be captured from atmosphere, and after producing the biomass of algae, you can process the biomass to different forms, biodiesel, biofuel, cosmetics, all these things can be produced. Wheat also you can earn money or you can also generate revenue. But other methods we are only wasting money to capture CO2. But it is the only one method you can earn money with the help of these things. So these six things are the most vital things for the algae as a chosen for carbon dioxide capture and storage or CCS process. So this is very much important. You can go through these slides, and it is very much hot topic today. Nowadays, this is all about your CCS techniques and using this algae. So how this algae can be utilized for the carbon capture and storage? Let I will show you some slides which can be I have shown in last class, which is what are the different methods for the uh, uh, utilization of this algae in spite of this uh, different things, produce different things. See these slides. So many things can be produced from the algae. This is the algae, green algae that is grown. Most important things which can be produced, that is biogas, bioethanol, biodiesel, biobutanol, of all are called biofuel. These are the byproducts. Cosmetics, as it is contains some lipids and sugars, as well as some algae can be utilized for the productions of cosmetics. For example, for your face pack, powder, bleach, and all other things, some creams, anti-aging, all the things. This is a very huge market is there nowadays. Then natural pharmaceuticals, vitamins. Also, algae are having high amount of nutritional value. So some pharmaceutical company, they also produce some vitamin tablets and some medicines from this algae. Then foods. Algae are considered as the alternative source of foods also. You have heard the name spirulina. Spirulina is the one form of algae which is the highly proteinous food or food supplements. If you take 10 gram of this spirulina or 2 5 gram of spirulina, which is the contains so much protein value that can be you taken in a whole day. So it may be one capsule of the spirulina may be a food supplement for the whole day. So this is the capacity of the food nutritional value of this algae. Another thing is fertilizer nutrients. Algae are growing rapidly. It can also utilize for production of these fertilizers and nutrients for the different other crops. Next is animal feed. Algae also can be utilized to or can be poured in feeder into the different cow, buffalo, or chicken. The animal feed can be prepared from the algae. Bioplastics. Nowadays, plastic is also a major problem in the environment. So this algae biomass can be utilized to form bioplastic also. Then feedstocks. These are the different byproducts or different the usefulness of this green algae. See here there is no term CCS or carbon dioxide capture. And the carbon dioxide capture is the main process which can be a vital thing along with these things. These are the byproducts or main purpose. If you are grown the algae in a suitable technological way, oh, you can produce these things with a suitable technology. Although these things are not so much easy, but after 10 or 15 years, these are all very much quite easy. Some techniques are. So this production of this algae is a very beneficial and obviously costly, but when we are taking the consideration from the both environmental as well as this beneficial things, it is a very usefulness product, a usefulness thing. So let me show you why what is algae pond and how it can be grown. See, these are the algae, how algae can be grown in the field. Algal growth methods. Last class we already discussed this thing, just I am showing this. So this first thing is the raceway of growing algae pond where open field is digging and the water is put into the it. So algae can be grow openly and the flue gases from the thermal power plant that can be directly inserted into the algal pond. So this is the raceway techniques of production of algae. Second is photo bioreactor. In glass tube in different lab we have seen glass tube some nutrient water is passed and along with this artificial lightning inside the laboratory this photobioreactor can be as a methods of growing this algae. Third is fermentation. This is also a method used in different large scale production of this algae. So there are all having its advantages and challenges. For example, raceway production of open pond, it can be open pond. What is the advantages? Low cost, evaporating cooling outside because if the algae are grown, then it can be easily evaporate and also maintain temperature. The open conditions are there. Further challenges? Difficult to regulate this chemistry. We cannot regulate the acidity, alkalinity, all these things, chemical chemistry inside it. High likely to contaminate to scale up because it is openly kept, so there may be chance to contaminate other things, other areas where algae are not need to grow. Second, photobioreactor is higher surface volume ratio. That means the production of algae is very much high as compared to the other because you can grow in controlled environment. But there are challenges are there, difficult to scale up because so much huge amount of infrastructure is required to growing in algae in a tube-like structures. High likelihood of contaminations. If there is small contamination takes place, then huge whole reactors can be contaminated. High capital cost. The containing cost of generation of this production of algae is high, requires temperature maintenance, requires very much because it's a reactor and we have to keep the maintain the temperature, then also it is very uh, difficult task, require periodic cleaning because it is glass tube we have to clean periodically. Third is fermentation that achieves high biomass concentration, easy to maintain because in a steel container they can be grown by maintaining some algae pressure and temperature. Complete feedback challenges, that is biofuel techniques, possibility to food supply, sugar cane, scaling of this algae is also large scale. So there are some advantages, disadvantages for the all the techniques. So our main aim is to growing the algae or algae is a green greener way to producing the energy, green energy in terms of biofuel, greener way to carbon capture and sequestration techniques, CCS. So there are lots of R&D is going on along for these algae productions and this utilization of this biomass of the algae. So this is all about this algae, algal growth, where algae can be chosen for biofuel production and this carbon dioxide sequestration techniques. Why algae is we are going to study algae, need to study. So this is very much useful if you want to go in for a research in the field of this algae, because it is a future techniques or future green energy, you may call it future energy. So this is all about the algae and the carbon capture and sequestration process. So in your course unit 4, algae carbon capture using algae is over. Next class we are going to study nano technology involved in green energy techniques or some photovoltaic cell, solar cell, and global operations and sustainable development. More two classes are needed for this complete unit 4. So any questions do you have? You got this PPT in the your group Google Classroom. I will share this. So have you understand little about this why algae is so much useful?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have any specific questions regarding this, you can ask. Okay, let me ask one question. What is carbon capture and sequestration? What is CCS? Just one sentence you can tell. What is CCS? Carbon sequestration.
Sure, it is the process in which when CO2 is released by the industries
Hmm.
and and by other plants or generations,
Hmm.
it is stored away into the atmosphere.
Yes. So why we
Mhm.
are specifically chosen algae as the agent for the CCS? This is another question. Then there are so many methods are there,
Sir,
but
can
we have
you
specifically
repeat?
chosen algae because it is a natural process. It is green plant. No machineries, no other things are required, or no chemicals are also used. It is a natural process. First of this. Second is the algae can also used for biofuel productions, not only CCS. So one methods, two usefulness are there, and the productions and growth of algae is nearly double every day. So huge amount of biomass can be converted or can be formed or doubled within some few days. That means huge amount of carbon dioxide can be captured. Not only capture, it also convert it into usefulness. For example, what are the conversion of usefulness? First is the biomass itself. Second is the oxygen, because it is a plant. It can convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. This is natural processes. And the biomass, when it grow, the biomass can be utilized for the production of biofuel, cosmetics, feed, natural fodder, or bioplastics, all everything. So this why that's why this is the very much chosen and the R&D also and the research also going on for this algae productions techniques. Okay, so today this much we can uh, go next class. This is nanotechnology. For nanotechnology.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.